collapse zone is the height of the building, plus 20 or 30 feet as the norm. So here's what we got now. Salamanca's truck here, Salamanca's engines here. Actually, all of those trucks just moved out back here. We have Little Valley Aerial here, Salamanca's truck feeding Little Valley Aerial. Pillbox truck is feeding this end of the building right here. And it's not on here yet, but we have trucks starting to set up in the Salamanca lumber area. Anybody have any questions so far?
And where'd you get your water from? Is it out of the hydrant?
Everything's out of the hydrants at this point. Okay, you can see how fast it's moved down that far side of the building, so we've packed up a little Valley truck. He's getting out of there. We're going to send him down to the end of the building, protecting like the real museum, that end of the building. There's looking down, you can see luminite. You can see the front side here, and then the older Fancher plant that's on the other side of the road, you can see it fully involved right up through there. Not a lot we can do there. That luminite flag, maybe also. This is standing in front of McCone Industries, looking at it this way. So now we're concerned with McCone's. It's a metal building. Metal buildings metal doesn't burn, but what's metal will conduct heat very, very well. So if it gets too hot, it's going to draw the heat right into the building, and in there they do all types of metal bending and stuff like that. They have a lot of oils and a lot of different stuff like that that we were concerned about. So we have actually an aerial setting up right in this area currently, as this picture is probably being taken, and we're starting to work on the lumber yard. You can see we've got a hose line right there. Okay, I don't know if you can see all this, but we now have Elliottville's truck out here. Really haven't set this up quite yet, but back in the lumber yard, we're starting to really be concerned here, because we've got all kinds of firewood there. A lot of it's kiln dried hardwoods. I mean, it's all going to burn. We have Cattaraugus' aerial there, Little Valley's there, Great Valley's here, Cattaraugus there, Seneca Nation, City Bowling, and Little Valley all sitting up here, trying to protect this area here. We're going to try and keep all this wet. And in the whole scheme of things, we also have to think about a wind direction change. If the wind change direction, we're going to have to come up with a whole new plan, because on this side, we have the Seneca Nation housing over here. We have that, which there are people there, and that's people. Life safety is our first concern. Okay, here's looking at it from behind the Rail Museum. You can see we've got City of Olean's truck set up, Little Valley's truck set up, and on the other end of the building, we've got Elliottville's truck running. We've got Salamanca's truck running. So you keep adding this up, 1,000 gallons a minute, 1,000 gallons a minute, 1,000 gallons a minute. And think of the water flow or flowing there. Now, when you get flowing that much water, you think of the size of a water main. How big of a water main is it going to take to flow that much water? Big. Wasn't big enough. I mean, not saying it wasn't big enough for all flowing water, but once the pressure's gone out of the system, there still can be a lot of water there, but there's no pressure there for these trucks to grab it and boost it. The trucks will pump it, but the trucks can't suck out of a hydrant system. Back years and years ago, they used to put those hard suctions like they used to suck out of a river. They'd hook them to the fire hydrants, and they'd suck the water out of the system. When that happens, it's all well and fine. In the perfect modern system, you can probably do that, but that could in effect suck the water out of the back of your toilets. It could suck the water out of your hot water tank, and then your hot water tank is going to kick on and start your house on fire. So that's why firefighters stopped using those hard suctions on the hydrant, was to prevent that from happening. So now we've got, Salamanca's got a tremendous water supply. All this water sitting up on the hill. We had all these pipes running through the city. I don't know how many of you were trying to use water that night, but there probably wasn't hardly any pressure. Now we've got all these trucks running off of this system, and we've just taken the pressure out of the system. We figured the amount of water, when we were pre-planning, the amount of water in the tanks and how many thousands of gallons a minute we could flow with certain trucks in a certain area, and we figured that we could drain the water supply in 6 hours. Well, we ended up hardly putting a dent in it just because we couldn't get the water out. The mains on Rochester Street were good mains, but they weren't huge mains. So, I mean, it was enough for one fire, but not enough when you start putting all these loads on it. This truck here is a 1,000-gallon-a-minute truck. Little Valley's truck is a 1,000-gallon-a-minute truck. Salamanca's new aerial is a 2,000-gallon-a-minute truck. I like the Ville's is a 2,000-gallon-a-minute truck, and that's just the aerial. That's not the fire trucks that have hand lines and other monitors. So, at this point, these trucks are off of the main behind the railroad station. The other end of the building where we initially started the fire, that's off the hydrant on Rochester Street, and the aerial's back by McCone Industries. We ran hoses from Elm Street over to that to catch those ones. The more we diversify, the more pressure we get. If we're trying to take it all out at once, it's not going to work. If we spread it out, we can try to get more. Okay, so we're out of water. And we started this well into the thing because there's all kinds of water in the river. I've been at a fire in Warren when I was really young where they had 23 trucks in the Allegheny River pumping out of the river. One of the problems Salamanca has over Warren is the river's diked. So a fire truck will only pick up 30 feet of elevation. So you have to get a fire truck to where you can get to that water. So Great Valley has this mini pumper that's got a 1,000-gallon pump on the front of it. They kind of drove that down over the hill. And I don't have any pictures of it, I wish I did, but where the dike is, right behind the old phone company, there's a cement wall that comes up there. And we had pre-planned that and said, it was solid behind that wall, and you could drive the truck down there. So we pulled right off, we drive the truck down behind that dike. We looked at it, like, great. We said, no, we checked it out, it worked. And we really didn't know if it would work, but it did. They drove the truck down, what's the worst case, you got to pull it out. And we did have to pull it out. Well, we pulled it out because we didn't want them to wreck their truck trying to drive it out. It's just easy to pull out. So we had this 1,000-gallon-a-minute truck here. We had Randolph's 1,000-gallon-a-minute truck down here. And we started to bring that water across the parking lot of Save-A-Lot. Now this, I don't know, I've got these a little bit out of order. We're all the way back over on the other side of McCone Industry again. And you can see the old Fancher plant here, this is across the road, just fully involved. We've got an aerial here at it. This aerial is actually in Salamanca Lumbers, and then there's an aerial over here. It's also here. And these are ground monitors, turrets. They can flow 1,000 gallons a minute depending on how they're set up also. So right there, just what you could see in the picture is probably around 3,000 gallons a minute.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
About that, all that lumber.
Uh-huh.
Did you keep that all wet to keep it from...
Yeah, we did, and you'll see some pictures where we did that before. Salamanca Lumber happened to be there when this fire started, so they were very, very active in moving stuff out of our way. They had all their forklifts going, moving stuff, keeping stuff around, trying to making room for getting stuff that was really in danger, moving it out of the way, and making it so that we could work with them. So they worked with us very, very well. Actually, I think they even brought guys in to help move. I don't know if you know anything else. One of our assistant chiefs, he did a fabulous job in there. And one of the things we do in the incident command system in a fire like this is we segregate. We have an officer, Anthony was the Salamanca Lumber, the east side of the north side of the building. We had another officer, Barney was down at the west end of the building. We had another guy, Dan Owens, was water supply at the river, and everybody had a thing, and then you work in your segment, and then if you have a problem, or then you work so that not everything is going to, you don't want to overwhelm anybody. Everybody takes a sector and does their thing, and if they have a question, that's when it comes up, or if we need additional resources, then it comes up through the chain of command. We had, I believe, 43 different departments they weren't all here, but they were all either moved around. The county coordinator, Chris Baker, was here, and once we got the initial round of trucks in, the initial companies, he did all the coordinating of that. We said, hey, we need 3 more tankers, we need 5 more fire trucks, and he would arrange that, and also keep the rest of the county covered. Just because the department didn't come here, they might have helped us, because Kingsdale might have got relocated to Kilbuck, or actually I think Machias got relocated to Kilbuck. So they were Move all over the place. Again, that's looking at, there's cattle offices. This picture's actually in the lumber yard. You can see the old Fancher's plant there, or that actually might be the Fancher's plant, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that's the actual Fancher's plant. He's not full of water right at the minute. At this point, we've gone to tankers some because we didn't have enough water to feed everything, so we had fire departments bringing in tankers and ponds set up in Salamanca lumber. So these aerials would operate out of a portable pond, tank trucks would dump their water into it, pump, and sometimes 1,000 gallons a minute, it's hard to keep that pond full. So when they run out of water, he waits till another tanker comes to dump the water.
Another question about this picture.
Sure.
This is personnel related.
Mm-hmm.
How hot does it get for that guy up there? How much danger is he really in?
It's probably looks a lot worse than it actually is. I believe this is the actual Fancher's building here, is what I'm seeing. I think this is the low part, Luminite.
Okay.
So there's the Fancher's building, there's Rochester Street, there's the
Okay.
Luminite building, and then he's in the lumber yard. Okay?
Yeah,
So,
because it looks like he's in the
he's got fire gear on. His fire gear will protect him. In the worst, if he's got it all put, it'll protect him to like 400 or 500 degrees. It's not going to be comfortable for him, so he'll get out of there. But he's not really in any danger there.
Okay.
Yeah, this picture might give it a little bit better perspective. You can see he's by one of these sheds right here, and there's Luminite right there, and that's actual. So there's Fancher Building, Rochester Street, Luminite, and then the lumber yard.
But he looks like he's ready to fire.
Yeah, it looks like he's
Yeah.
He's not. Standing back in Mahones, you can see what's going on here. We initially had people inside McCone's checking for fire extension. The one guy opened the door, looked in, and he could see fire out the back wall. So he called on the radio, "Oh, McCone's on fire." And we're like, "Oh no!" And so we're, trying to scramble up another crew, sending fire. But what it was is that the back of the building had enough holes in it. When he opened the doors up, all he saw was red, so he could see it through the holes in the building. So thank God it wasn't actually burning. We did have vehicles there keeping the back of it wet. There was I can't remember, there's a tank that holds some kind of chemical, not really an explosive chemical that we kept cool, because anything that's kept under pressure, if it gets hot, it could explode. There's safety valves built into it. It wasn't propane or anything. I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. This just shows in the lumber yard, we tried to get a lot of this netting that they had down and out of the way, just because that was a fire hazard. You can see the guys here running a 2.5 line, which even these 2.5 lines, that pipe flows around 500 gallons a minute. Again, there it is, looking through the lumber yard, how they were setting up. There's actually a couple propane tanks. These will explode right here, and that's what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
You can see here, there's Cattaraugus' aerial. You can see here, little guy's truck feeding it, and you can see the portable pond set up. There's 2 ponds set up right here. There's 2 tankers here dumping into the ponds, so you can see the whole layout of the thing. Looking at it from behind the Rail Museum, looking back and see the stacks here, the silos here, you can see these 2 aerials are running, but they're really not putting water on the fire. They're keeping everything over here cool. Keeping the lumber cool, keeping the tops of everything wet. There was a row of pine trees right through here, right in Salamanca lumber. We kind of hemmed and hawed. We tried keeping them wet because pine trees, I don't know if you've seen one burn, they burn very hot, very quick. We ended up making the decision that they had to come down because they could make it worse if they did catch on fire. So we cut those pine trees down during the fire to free up a little space and to allow us to keep the buildings wet. Again, another picture from that angle. You can see here, water getting over into Salamanca lumber. You can see one of the other aerials operating in the back. At this point, you can see the majority of the building is starting to collapse.